trading discard spells, and then off the top, it's Obsidat. And what do you do about that? You die.
You die.
Yes.
That's what you do.
So having an actual proper answer to that actually affects both Blood Baron and Obsidat, that's huge here.
Renounce was actually pretty good for Jim when we watched him play against Jund Monsters, too. He ended up losing the match, but being able to take care of Domri and Xenagos was really, really powerful stuff. And you can imagine that Obsidat is a difficult card for him to beat. He actually has a copy of Renounce the Guilds in his hand right now. Rosum's going to play a Lifebane Zombie. He's going to see exactly what's going on here, assuming that Jim does not have a counter spell, and he does not. So he will lay out a Hand of Aetherling, a Jace Architect of Thought, a Supreme Verdict, a copy of Reprisal, a Divination, a Sphinx's Revelation, a Renounce the Guild. What you don't see is a third land.
Nope. You see a lot of gas and the inability to use any of it, actually.
Now, if you're Jim, the idea here is, all right, well, I will just draw an untapped land and I will cast a Divination.
Yeah,
this
not
is
bad.
Really easy. And if he draws an Azorius Guildgater or a Temple of Enlightenment, that kind of stinks, but it is a third land.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, you obviously are not losing any of your removal here because it's Lifebane Zombie. So even if you miss, which you didn't, easy game. But even if he missed, or even if he drew a tap land, he still gets to sit on Reprisal and Renounce the Guilds, which severely limits what Jonathan can do.
That's true. That's true. Jim, I think, is considering, okay, do I cast Divination because then I go from 6 cards up to 8 and then I'll have to discard. So am I supposed to wait here? Am I supposed to just draw the cards? I think you're just supposed to draw the cards.
Yeah, I think so. Particularly given that Jonathan has seen your hand and knows what removal spells you have access to.
And also, he did not find a land there, so we'll see what ends up happening here. Two Renounces, a Deicide, or a Reprisal. I mean, his hand's great, just needs the lands.
Yeah.
That's it.
It looks like he is... Okay, well, he kind of shuffled that Reprisal to the front. That feels like the one to get rid of. You do have a lot of redundant answers to the big scary things, like I said, like Blood Baron and Obsidat. And if Jonathan has a Desecration Demon this turn, you do have a Banishing Light for that as well.
I actually kind of like the discarding of Renounce there, even though I agree with you that Renounce is incredibly powerful in this matchup, taking care of Blood Baron and Obsidat, because Jonathan saw Renounce the Guilds. That's the reason I like it as a discard.
Sure. Yeah, I see what you're saying, like in that he is going to, like, you think he's gotten rid of the one, so maybe he jams his 1 gold card there, but as this matchup's actually going to play out, Jonathan's almost certainly going to see his hand a few more times.
This is true.
Before that would ever play out.
This is the second time he's able to do so. A Sin Collector is cast. Again, 4 of these in his deck after sideboard. It's going to take a copy of Supreme Verdict away from Jim.
Yeah, Sin Collector huge in this matchup. 4 Sin Collectors, 3 Duresses, 4 Thought Seizes post-board, and then, of course, some number of Lifebane Zombies just for the peaks.
Yeah.
So Jim Davis not going to have a lot of hidden information this game.
Found a land, it's Plains. That's big for Jim. He can maybe cast a Jace if he'd like, or he can cast, maybe a couple removal spells, or play 1 removal spell, leave mana up for something else. He's definitely got some options available, especially because this land comes into play untapped. It looks like he's going to go simply with Jace.
Yep. And okay, gonna play Jace and actually go down ticking digging for presumably land. Find some, so that worked.
Do you like the down tick? It sounds like in your voice that you didn't.
I did not. I'm not gonna say I didn't like it. It never even occurred to me.
Okay.
I just assumed he was upticking here.
Okay.
I don't think I like it. I'll tell you that much. I don't like exposing yourself like this. You're taking a ton of damage from this. Yeah, you're basically allowing Sin Collector to trade off with the Jace very easily and setting yourself up to start taking damage. Jim's going to put himself in a position here where he has to start answering these threats. And these aren't the threats that you need to answer, Like Obsidat, Ghost Council, Underworld Connections. These are the real problem cards in this matchup. You don't want to be putting yourself in a position where Lifebane Zombie of all cards is something that you have to deal with.
Now, it's something he has to deal with now.
Yeah, well, it is.
Sure.
It's something he always had to deal with in the purest sense, but in this particular case, like if he just sticks Jace and keeps uptaking it, he's in a much better shape.
Deicide takes care of Underworld Connections. Get that stuff out of here. Let's see what the follow-up is going to be. Pretty easy to just start by playing a land. There's a copy of Hallowed Fountain. And they're going to pass the turn back over to Rosum, who will take a draw. Again, you see the Mutavault, the Sin Collector, and the Lifebane Zombie. Going to fire up the Mutavault. We're coming in for a bunch. Renounce the Guilds is going to take care of Sin Collector. Now, of course, that's not the card that Renounce the Guild wants to take care of. But
no. But honestly, there's not a ton he can do about that. That's one of the many reasons why Sin Collector is insane in this matchup. Yep. Being able to insulate your bigger, scarier, multicolored threats is huge.
Manic Influence plus passing of the turn, representing a removal spell, Hero's Downfall, something of that nature is Rosum. Davis draws a plane. So lands are no longer a problem.
No.
And he has his win condition in his hand, and that's an Aetherling. Now, of course, it's very difficult to just slam down Aetherling right now because Hero's Downfall is a card that exists, but the longer you keep it in your hand, the longer you open yourself up to getting it thought seized.
Yeah, Aetherling is probably more vulnerable in hand than it is in play. It also doesn't do a lot here, honestly. It does not block the Lifebane Zombie. It would put Jim in a position where he couldn't actually respond to, like, he would not be able to remove an Obzidot if Jonathan cast it in time to stop himself from being drained for an additional 2. So even though I think you can safely assume that your Aetherling is going to live post-board, it's still not that great a play. I think he's just gonna, yeah, there we go.
There's a Rev.
Go for a baby Rev instead. Is 3 baby? What's the?
3's baby.
Okay.
3's baby Rev.
Is 4 the point where it stops being baby?
I think 5 is when it starts to be mid-range Rev. And then anything for more than 5, the opponent typically concedes.
Well, sure, but there's got to be a spot between baby and concede. Rev for 4. I've been very satisfied with a lot of Rev for 4s in my time.
A nice life you have. I need more cards, more life.
You've hated every Rev for. Have you ever cast a Rev for 4?
I have.
Okay.
I actually, in the Seattle Opens that I've got to play, because that's like the 1 weekend I take off of work.
Sure.
Both the last 2 I've played Esper.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And actually had a blast. So every time I've played Esper in those tournaments and I cast a Rev for like 6, I'm just like, I should have been doing this the whole time. This is a lot of fun.
Right, and then the next round you miss your 5th land and can't do anything.
I can Rev for 1.
That's a baby Rev. That's what we in the industry refer to as a baby Rev.
That's correct.
So there's a reason we call it that.
Not too proud either. I've Rev for 1.
Because it can't stand on its own.
That's true. It's not really very good either.
No. Jim Davis draws 3. We'll call that one a preteen Rev.
All right, I'll let you have that.
A teenage Rev.
I'll let you have that one.
And find some gas, but is faced with some tough spots here.
I mean, he's got a Plains, he's got Celestial Flare, he's got a Verdict in his hand. I'm sure he would like to get more out of his Verdict than trading this with a Lifebane Zombie.
Yeah, the Celestial Flare is a pretty good solution to that Lifebane Zombie, although Mutavault can muck with that. The card he really wants to answer is Underworld Connections.
Yeah.
He does not have an answer to that.
Now, I actually kind of like this Verdict simply because you said that, he can take care of Mutavault with the Flare and Lifebane Zombie's live, but Mutavault's actually just a problem.
Sure. For
these decks, so trading that with the Flare actually isn't so bad.
That is true.
You saw an activation of Connections. Rosum actually drew a copy of Hero's Downfall. His draw for the turn was a swamp. Now, see if he finds a Haymaker. That looked like a gold card. I don't know which one it was.
I believe it was another Sin Collector.
It was actually Thoughtseize.
Oh, okay.
We have a Thoughtseize. That's still good.
Kind of the same thing.
Yeah. Oh, I don't love the ordering of this. I would have rather led with Thoughtseize, I think.
I mean, you're right that Mutavault's a problem, but I mean, you've got to draw out Celestial Flare somehow, right?
Well, sure. I would rather have the information before I make the attack. Like, I would rather Thoughtseize in main phase 1, see what's going on, and then decide, okay, I would like to attack my Mutavault into this. Because now he hasn't given himself the option to either attack or decide, whoa, I don't want to attack because I don't want to trade this with a Flare.
Okay. There's an argument for that. The other consideration is that if you attack, you have to assume that if Jim has a way to interact with the Mutavault, he's going to use it. Now, Jim is trying really hard not to here, but I think that's a safe assumption. So if you attack here and get Jim to tap two of his lands to play anything really, then you know your Sin Collector is going to resolve, or not your Sin Collector, I guess your Lifebane Zombie.
Yeah, and if it's a Sin Collector, it's a different story altogether, I think.
True. Well, sure. If it's Sin Collector, yeah, then you actually just cast it for info and everything else. But
and I know that Rosum has not played a land yet. He's going to take a look at the hand here. Yeah, I think he's got to cast his Thoughtseize and take Aetherling.
Kind of has that luxury. If he plays Lifebane and sees a hand he doesn't care about, he doesn't have to cast a Thoughtseize. In this case, get out.
This is a little bit surprising. He's going to take Sphinx's Revelation. I say that's surprising. Obviously, Revelation's a fantastic card, but I would not be surprised at all if Jim just goes, untap, play Aetherling with the blue mana up, go.
Yeah, what's that do here? Against Lifebane Zombie?
I mean, it's not great against Lifebane Zombie, but it gives him a chance to actually win the game. I mean, Rosum's at 11 life. We can have a bit of a race here that Jim can actually win.
That's true. Jonathan does have the Hero's Downfall,
this is true.
He can win that race.
Yeah.
He buys the turn he needs. He actually wins the race anyway, I think. Maybe not on, let's see. So if Jim casts Aetherling, just slams it here, falls to 4, Aetherling attacks for presumably 8, and then falls to 1. So I guess on board, Jim's actually winning that race.
Yeah. And I think that given the contents of Jim's hand, I think he is almost forced into casting Aetherling this turn because Elspeth doesn't really do a lot against Life Pain Zombie. Reprisal is not doing very much. The Syncopate isn't doing very much either. So I think that he is priced into just playing this Aetherling. Now, I'm fine if you believe you can win this Aetherling race, but if that's not the case, and you can lose to some sort of top decks, that's when I don't love that play.
Sure. Well, again, with the Hero's Downfall that Jonathan has, he can see that he can win the race. And yeah, you could lose to some cards that Jim could draw there, but you can also draw discard spells to turn that off.
Sure.
Now, one other factor here is actually Jim has a Syncopate, which Jonathan knows about.
Yep.
So Jonathan has to make sure he uses Hero's Downfall in a way that doesn't play into Syncopate,
yep.
which is not that hard because in order for Aetherling to actually win this race, he has to. Oh, well, that works too. Okay, that solves that problem.
About all those things we're saying.
Yeah, well, whatever. Get out. Nice card. Yeah. Nice face.
A second Hero's Downfall kind of makes what Andrew and I are talking about fairly irrelevant at this point. So now it looks like, okay, I was going to say now it makes it look like that taking the Revelation doesn't matter. But top of the deck was rather friendly for Jim Davis. So, I think that we should just not talk anymore and just let the game go as it goes. What do you think?
You think so?
Yeah, just have a little quiet.
Just have a little quiet time?
sit, get a cup of coffee, and then just whatever happens, happens.
I mean, I'm okay with that, but let's be real. You couldn't sit in silence if your life depended on it.
How could you say that?
You're trying right now,
I'm actually rather quiet at times.
Are you?
Yes.
Okay.
Here's a Revelation in the main phase. It's going to be for 5. So he's going to go up to 9, will Jim. And again, I like the main phase Revelation here just because if he finds a land, like a temple or something, he can put it directly into play.
Yeah, no, he does, whatever cards he's going to draw, he does put them in his hand where they're exposed to the plethora of discard spells that Jonathan has access to. This is your third Revelation. You've cast 1, you had 1 discarded, this is now your 3rd. So honestly, your land count, not that significant at this point.
Sure.
There is honestly a pretty strong argument for holding it. I'm not sure which one's better. It's close either way, though.
Attack for 3, and now this is a Blood Baron of Escopa. There's Norzov's Guildgate. Now this begs the question because we joined this match in progress. We didn't get to see it in game number 1. Jim has a Planar Cleansing in his hand. Now I guess you can make the argument there's nothing Jonathan can do about Planar Cleansing anyway.
Yeah, I mean he never saw it with a Thoughtseize or a Sin Collector.
It's going to be insane now.
Yeah. Really, it needs to come off the top or come at the end step for from a Sphinx's Revelation. I think that the presence of this card in Jim's deck is actually a pretty strong argument for waiting until the end step.
Sure.
To cast that Sphinx's Revelation. But that's a game changer.
Yeah, things work out beautifully here for Jim. He's able to leave 4 mana available. Now he can represent counter magic. Rosum has been drawing cards with Underworld Connections, but you can probably sense a little bit of weakness that he hasn't really been doing very much with it. So now Jim can cycle Misoria's Charm. He can untap a little bit here. You see the life totals of 6 to 9. He can actually start getting to work with the old Mutavault now.
Yeah, not bad. 2 lands sitting in Jonathan's hand. And this is a spot where even though his deck is full of discard effects, and we've been singing the praises of the discard effects this entire game, they're not great top decks here.
Yeah.
Sin Collector's pretty good still, just by virtue of being able to get a card out of Jim's hand and then trade with Mutavault. But you don't want to draw a Thoughtseize if you're Jonathan here.
Yeah, this is one of the situations where you don't want anything to do with Thoughtseize or Duress.
Yeah.
Rosum's going to draw his cards. Another land, he's going to extend the hand, so Jim Davis is going to win this match. 2 games to 0. Blue-white control, no detention spheres, no banishing lights necessary. Takes it down, and that game was very close, I think. It was, swinging back and forth, some timely top decks.
It didn't look it at the end of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there were big plays that went back and forth. And I think I was kind of assuming Jonathan was going to take that game down for most of that stretch.